Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My dear students, Assalamu alaikum. I hope you are doing well. Today I am here with a new lecture which is based on an elegy by Alfred Lord Tennyson. When I was teaching you kinds of poetry, you studied over there that elegy is a poem which is written on the death of someone. But apart from this, you should keep one thing in your mind, that elegy can be written on the death of someone, and also it can be written on the loss of something. So, not only on the death of someone, but on the loss of anything or something. So, this is what elegy is. And this poem, Break, Break, Break by Tennyson, this is an elegy. Why? Because this is written on the death of someone. So if I tell you about the background, this poem was written by Tennyson on the death of his dear friend Arthur Hallam. Okay? So let's get started. Break, Break, Break by Alfred Tennyson. The timeline is given to you 1809 to 1892. He was born at Somersby, a village in Lincolnshire, United Kingdom. Somersby is the name of a village, and Lincolnshire, it's a county, or you can say it is based on administrative division, a kind of province, a kind of county. All right? So, United Kingdom basically. He was educated at the Trinity College, Cambridge. Next point, the death of his close friend Arthur Hallam in 1833 was a shattering blow to him. Shattering blow to him, it was a kind of shock for him, a kind of shock to him. He was in shock. It was unbelievable for him. Okay? So, this is the background of this poem, that the death of his close friend in 1833, it was a kind of shock for him. So that's why he has written this elegy, Break, Break, Break. And what is an elegy? An elegy is a poem which is written on the death of somebody. Okay? Now, what is the central idea of this poem? Man is mortal. He has to die. The world goes on as usual without any interference. Now, what is the theme or central idea? That we all know this is a reality, that we have to die one day, because man is mortal. But the tragedy is that the world goes on. Only the person himself knows, only the person himself feels this intensity of his grief on the death of a dear one. So, the world, it goes on. Life never stops. Whether somebody dies, whether any dear one of yours dies, so what happens? Only you will be in pain. You will feel the intensity of that grief, that sorrow, that pain. And as far as the world is concerned, it goes on. Life goes on. It never stops. All right? So this is the theme or central idea of this elegy, this poem, Break, Break, Break. Okay? Now, some other lines about this poem. It is a short poem, elegy, dealing with loss. I have already explained this. Next, Tennyson's friend has died, and for Tennyson, there remains no charm in this world, but the world goes on as if nothing has happened. So, just like I have just told you, that world goes on, life goes on, it never stops. So, this is the central idea or substance of this poem. Okay, here I have written words and meanings. You should note them down with you. Stately, stately here means impressive. Haven, harbor. We have studied this word in one of the previous poems as well, and I have explained it. Vanished, vanished, disappeared. Still, still, motionless. Crags, rough and steep rocks, rough and pointed rocks. Okay? Okay, girls. Before proceeding towards the poem, you should know these three important figures of speech which are used in this poem. Number one, metaphor. Number two, personification. Number three, synecdoche. How would you pronounce it? Synecdoche. Okay, we have already discussed metaphor and personification. So metaphor is when one thing is directly called as another. For example, I say life is a tale, or I say she is a moon, without using like or as. Okay, when we call one thing as another, that is metaphor. So in this poem, this line, it is written in inverted commas, and the stately ships go on to their haven under the hill. Now here, life is compared with a ship, or life is directly called as a ship without using like or as. Because when you use like or as, for example, she is as beautiful as a rose, that is simile. That is not metaphor. But when you say she is a rose, that is metaphor. So life is a ship. So this ship is a metaphor of life. Life is directly called as ship. This you should remember, and when we will study this line in the poem, then you will get to know in a better way. Next, personification. Now what is personification? When animate quality is given to inanimate thing. For example, I say the painting on the wall is shouting for attention. How can painting shout? Of course, shouting, screaming, it's an animate quality. It's a human quality. So when you give this human or animate quality to any non-living object, that is personification. For example, it's written here, a day that is dead. Human beings die. Animate things die. How can a day die? You see, so this is personification. Because day here is considered as a character, as a human being, you can say, or as an animate thing. All right? Next, synecdoche. Now what is synecdoche? You should note it down with you. It is a figure of speech in which part stands for whole and whole stands for part. P-A-R-T, part, and whole, W-H-O-L-E. Part stands for whole and whole stands for part. Let me give you the examples. First, part stands for whole. Note it down with you. Thousands of eyes were watching the match. I say, thousands of eyes were watching the match. Now, thousands of eyes, part. You see, eyes are part of human body. So, here, basically, I mean, thousands of people were watching the match. So, these eyes, they are part. They stand for whole people. This is synecdoche. So, when I say part stands for whole, eyes, here, they stand for people. Thousands of eyes were watching the match. It means eyes are used here as part and they stand for whole, people. Thousands of people were watching the match. Okay, this was part stands for whole. Now, whole stands for part. Now, whole stands for part. For example, I say, Pakistan won the match. Pakistan won the match. Now, Pakistan is whole, but it stands for part. And what is that part? 11 players of cricket team. So, this is synecdoche. When part stands for whole and whole stands for part, that is synecdoche. Alright, first example was part stands for whole, Thousands of eyes were watching the match. Eyes, part, and they stand for whole. Whole means people. Then whole stands for part. Pakistan won the match. Pakistan is a whole, and it stands for 11 players of cricket team. Part. Okay, so this is what? Synecdoche. If you do not understand this, you may ask me in the WhatsApp group, okay? Don't be hesitant. Feel free to ask. Okay, now I will proceed. Before proceeding, on this slide, you see, in this poem, where is Synecdoche? Let me read it out for you. But oh, for the touch of a vanished hand and the sound of a voice that is still. Now, hand, vanished hand, it's a part. It stands for Tennyson's friend, Arthur. Okay, and then voice, it's a part, but it stands for that whole human being, Tennyson's friend who is dead. So, hand and voice, they are part, but they stand for the human existence, whole human being. And who is that human being? Of course, Tennyson's friend. And Tennyson has written this elegy on the death of his friend, close friend. All right? So, hand and voice is part, but they stand for human being. And who is that human being in this poem? Tennyson's friend, Arthur Hallam. Oh, okay? Now, poem. Kindly open your books in front of you. It's page number 26. Now I'm going to explain these lines. Okay, now page number 26 in your books, and I will start explaining these lines. Break, break, break by Alfred Tennyson. Break, break, break on thy cold grey stones, O sea, and I would that my tongue could utter the thoughts that arise in me. Break, break, break. Now, here the poet Tennyson, he is addressing the sea. You see, in the second line you could see it's written O sea. So, Tennyson is addressing the sea. He says to the sea waves to fall and break upon the cold grey stones of the shore. There are stones on the shore. So, poet is addressing the sea and the sea waves that they should strike with the stones of the shore with full force, just like there are thoughts in his mind and they hit his mind. Okay, so just like that, there is a tempest of thoughts in his mind, and those thoughts they hit very forcefully with his mind. So just like that, he is addressing the sea waves to hit against the shore, against the stones of the shore with force, with pressure. Break, break, break. You see, break it, break the stones. So he is addressing the waves to break the stones. Break, break, break on thy cold grey stones, O sea. So he says to the sea waves to fall and break upon the cold stones of the shore. And I wish that my tongue could utter the thoughts that arise in me. And he says that he wishes that he will express the thoughts that arise in him. So he says that his tongue wants to utter, his tongue wants to say what, and he will express the thoughts that arise in him in his mind. So this is the meaning of these 4 lines. Oh, well for the fisherman's boy that he shouts with his sister at play. Oh, well for the sailor lad that he sings in his boat on the bay. So, oh, well for the fisherman's boy, he says, oh, all is well. It means that it matters nothing to them that the poet is sitting all alone, or he is sorrowful, or he is in grief, because I have already told you when I was telling you about the central idea or theme of this poem that he says, world goes on, life goes on. Nobody bothers whether you are sad, whether you are in grief, whether you are sorrowful. Only you know the intensity of that pain. Nobody cares. So, oh well for the fisherman's boy that he shouts with his sister at play. So, when he looks at the surroundings, he says that the fisherman's boy, he is shouting and playing with his sister. And the sailor boy, lad means young boy, and the sailor boy, young boy, he sings in his boat on the sea. They cannot feel the grief of the poet. Fine? Oh, well for the fisherman's boy that he shouts with his sister at play. So he says, oh, all is well. It matters nothing to them. Just like fisherman's boy, he is playing with his sister. He is singing in the boat. Oh, well for the sailor lad that he sings in his boat on the bay. And that young boy, lad is a word for young boy. That young boy is singing and enjoying with his sister in his boat. And they don't care about the sorrow, grief, and pain of the poet. So, this is how world is. Nobody cares. Okay, bay means shore, seashore. Actually, bay is that curved land along the shoreline. Let me show you the photo. This here, could you see this curve along the shoreline? This is bay, okay, which is that the land is curved inside. This is what bay is. Okay, now back to these lines. Okay, and the stately ships go on, stately, impressive, and the stately ships go on to their haven under the hell. Haven, harbor, port. But oh, for the touch of a vanished hand. Vanished hand, I have told you, it stands for the hand of his dead friend, Arthur Hallam. Okay? Vanished, disappeared. Vanished hand, disappeared hand, but it means his friend who is dead. And the sound of a voice that is still. And his voice, his dead friend's voice, it's still. He will never talk to him again. Motionless. Okay? So, and the stately ships go on to their haven under the hill. Stately ships go on, I have already told you this is a metaphor. Life is compared, or you can say life is directly called as ships. That the ships, they go on and they go to their port under the hill. But oh, for the touch of a vanished hand and the sound of a voice that is still. So life goes on. The world is busy in doing different activities. But that vanished hand, that hand of his friend, which means that his dead friend, he left him. He left the poet. And his sound of his voice, it has become silent, still, motionless. So everything is going on, the world is going on, life is going on, but what has stopped? The life of his friend who is dead. See, he is no more. He will never talk to the poet again. So, this is where Tennyson is lamenting, or he is mourning the death of his friend, close friend. So, this is the impact of the death of his friend on him. Okay. Break, break, break at the foot of thy crags, O sea. It's off, okay? In the second line, at the foot of thy crags, O sea. Crags, rocks. But the tender grace of a day that is dead. Tender grace? Tennyson's friend who is dead. Okay, you should note it down with you, which I am explaining. A day that is dead, a day that is gone forever, will never come back to me. So, again, the poet again says to the sea waves to fall and break on the rough rocks of the shore. And then he says that his friend is dead and he will never come back to him. He will never return. So, in the previous lines, in the above stanza, it was that the poet, He says that ships go on to their harbors. But the poet, he feels alone. He is in grief. He wants to enjoy the company of his friend, but he cannot enjoy anymore because his friend is dead. And again, he addresses the sea waves to break, to fall and break on the rough rocks of the shore. And then he says, his friend will never come back. He is gone forever. But the tender grace of a day that is dead. Tennyson's friend, tender grace, Tennyson's friend. He has gone, just like a day that is dead. So that day, it's gone forever. His friend is gone forever. He will never come back to me. And he will never return. He will never come back. So, girls, if you look at the style of this poem, exclamation marks are used, okay? Just like, oh, see, oh, well, but oh, for the touch, oh, see. So, oh, use of this expression, you can say. This expression somehow manifests the poet's yearning and longing for his dead friend. He is missing his friend so badly. Fine. So that's why these exclamation marks are used, such expressions are used. Oh, see. Oh, well. You see this oh, it is a kind of poet's longingness, his yearning. Okay. So you should always pay heed to the style of the poem as well, because somehow you get to know the feelings of the poet by use of words, choice of words, which is diction. Okay, so this was the elegy Break, Break, Break by Alfred Tennyson. And I will share question answers in the WhatsApp group. So, all the best. Thank you.